Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Get a Job, Keep a Job virtual program of the Allen County Public Library. My name is Joanne, and I'm from the WorkOne office, and I'll be the host for today's program. Our co-host, Lisa, a librarian at the Allen County Library, will assist.
Hello, today's program is being recorded. In order to improve the quality of everyone's listening experience, your microphones have been muted. If you have a question or comment, please use the chat function at the bottom of the screen. We will facilitate that as we go along, so go ahead and chime in whenever you have a question or need to bring something up. Thanks.
Getting a job and keeping a job. It includes honesty, integrity, and responsibility. WorkOne is working in partnership with the Allen County Public Library. We're also equal opportunity. WorkOne programs will also assist individuals with disabilities and have auxiliary aids upon request. What is today's agenda? The employer wish list, get a job, keep a job, and values. And many of these things that we're going to talk about today, you may already know, but sometimes we always need a good reminder. In addition, there is also this handout that the library has provided, and it has a lot of good information in here that I will be referring to. And many of the things that we're talking about today in the program will be listed on here. The employer's wish list. First is clear and concise communication, having a positive attitude toward work, proficiency in industry, having confidence, flexibility and dependability, interpersonal skills, and values. These are important, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about these in the next couple of slides. In addition to the wish list, employers want us to have self-motivation, which we'll be talking about a little bit more, leadership, teamwork, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. Sometimes it's like thinking outside of the box, and a willingness to learn and to do the job. So there are many steps to getting a job. Some ways are through the newspaper, the company websites, job search sites, billboards, signs, flyers. At the WorkOne office, we have hiring events. We have business service reps who go out and talk to employers. And so when our business service reps come back and they say, hey, there's going to be a hiring event or a job fair, we want to share that. And many times we'll put that on social media, or we'll have flyers around the office so we can promote that. Or along with that, we'll even email our customers. In addition, there's also to network to learn of positions not posted publicly. And many times, again, this is through family and friends, could be former coworkers, social media, and also to stay in touch sometimes with the library or even the WorkOne office. We have a lot of job leads that we'd love to get you connected with. Also, you can fill out job applications correctly and especially online. In addition to some of these, we also offer additional workshops at the WorkOne office. And if any of you are interested, we'll give you more information at the end of this program. Also, creating a great cover letter and resume. I know I've taught different workshops, and many times I ask my customers, I said, do you think employers really want cover letters? They say, nah, I don't think so. However, I know for myself, if I would apply for a job, I would send a cover letter and a resume. If I don't send a cover letter, that may tell the employer that I am not willing to follow instructions, and it could cost me an interview. So again, tailor each position you have. So if you have different resumes, make sure you tailor each resume to the job description. Make sure that you research the employer. There are company websites, social media. This is where you can come to the library, make an appointment. What is the employer doing? For example, What does the employer sell? What kind of service? What kind of products? Sometimes there are various websites. There's one called Inside Indiana Business. And this is, I receive an email every few days or so. And with the website Inside Indiana Business, it tells different news around the state regarding schools, colleges, companies. If a company's going to lay off, if a company has grant money, whatever it can to build up, or if a company is moving to a new city, that's important to know too. Also, make sure that you nail the interview. That can be in person, on the phone, in the webinar. And nowadays, more and more interviews are being conducted on the webinar and through meetings. And I always like to share with people, after the interview, always send an email, or it could be a letter stating a little bit about the interview, maybe if you forgot something. It's so important because sometimes that may give you that additional edge. Now, looking at to keep a job, you have to work to get the job, and you also have to work to keep the job. So job security depends on the skills you have and the work values you possess. And for many employers, they are looking for people who will take on more responsibility. So if you feel you're confident and you can take on more responsibility, tell that to your employer. That could possibly lead to a job advancement or even to a raise. You never know. Also, employers can also teach employees skills as well too. So if you already have the skills, it's always good to learn new things and to be adaptable. And the more you can learn, the more that you can give to the employer. Work ethic. Where do you have the work ethic? Do you read it from a book? I know for myself, I believe I've learned it more from my parents. For me, I see it more from a can-do attitude. So I think I've learned mine more or less from my parents. Learn every aspect of a job and do it to the best of your ability. There is nothing wrong to say, hey, I'm not doing the best I can. And I know sometimes it may take, some guts to do that. But I think if you can say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I want to be better at it. How can you help me? And I think that helps the employer to be aware of it. Behave responsibly. Now, sometimes this is a little tricky for me, but there is a time to speak professionally and also to behave responsibility too. And one way is if I'd get my cell phone out right now and start looking at my cell phone, that's not behaving responsible. That's being really disrespectful. And also being safety focused. For example, if you are, say, working in a manufacturing environment and you need to wear steel-toed boots, that would be an expectation. Also, be quality minded. Make sure you try to do the job right the first time. Now, we all make mistakes, we're all human, but sometimes that's how we learn, by making mistakes, and so we can try to remember them. And also be enthusiastic, optimistic, and a positive role model. Now, some days it's a little bit harder to be enthusiastic than others. Some days you don't feel optimistic, but sometimes if you can just make the best possible, things might work out better than what you think. Always try ways to do things more efficiently. For example, sometimes if I'm working in the office, a coworker will say, hey, Joanne, did you ever try this? There's a shortcut to this. Oh, I never thought of that. And so it might save me a couple of steps. Also, if you can do more than what is expected, that shows that you're reliable, that you're also, you're willing to go that extra mile to help with that. Also, avoid wasting valuable time. Remember, the employer is paying you to work. For example, if I was the employer and I was paying you to work and I see somebody on his or her cell phone several hours a day, I am thinking, hey, you're wasting my time. What are you doing or what are you not doing? So again, be careful. Put yourself in the employer's shoes. Make sure that you complete all projects on time with a positive attitude. I've had projects I've been assigned already. They haven't been my favorite, but sometimes if I just do it and try to keep an open mind, and I know it's not always easy, but sometimes if you can put forth that positive attitude, you'd be surprised. You're going to gain more confidence in yourself and always be willing to help others. I think sometimes that's why we're put on this earth, not only so others help us, but we can help others as well too, no matter what the situation. Now, being dependable. Try to be 10 to 15 minutes early to work every day. Now, right now, if you're working from home, if you're working remotely, maybe you can sleep in a little bit more. It kind of depends. But if you're driving to work, it's good to be early to work, especially if you can. It shows that you're reliable, you're dedicated, and you are willing to work. Always call if you're going to be late. There are some times when I'm driving into work, what if there's an accident, there's traffic or something? I want to call the office immediately and say, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late. I'm really sorry, but I want them to be aware that I'm trying to make forth a good effort. You don't want to do it all the time, but on occasionally it does happen. Try to schedule personal appointments outside of work hours. Now, I know sometimes this might be a little tricky at times. And if your employer offers you any kind of benefits like sick leave, if you have personal vacation, and if you can schedule that outside, that would be great. Because again, remember, I know where I work, we have to make sure that we have enough office coverage. And that's the same way with any employer. Only call in absent when truly sick to work or contagious. This one is kind of interesting because many times some employers, people can accumulate hours of vacation or whatever they have. I've known people, I've heard the old term, earn them and burn them. You earn 2 days of vacation and a couple days later, you're going to take the vacation. Now, there are times that emergencies may come up, but if you can try to build up a bit of a cushion, you are giving yourself in the long run, you're helping yourself. Give notice in advance of vacation. For example, if I'm going to be going to Hawaii in 2 months, which I'm not, I'm going to let my employer know now. But if you do give vacation, let your employer know that so they can work around that. Emergencies happen. That can happen to any one of us. Some employers have a point system. So let's say one morning you overslept. That's 1 point. Another time, let's say you don't have a babysitter, no childcare. Well, that's another point. Before you know it, you may be pointed out, or you have no points left and you could be losing your job. So again, be aware of that. Excuse me. Also, employers notice patterns, good patterns and bad patterns. So set a good example for yourself. Be that employee that the employer wants for you to be. Be responsible. Ensure your work gets completed. For example, let's say I have 5 projects due today and they're all due before 5 o'clock. If I'm not sure, I'm going to ask my employer, okay, you've got A, B, C, D, and E. I said, I think B should come first. Well, my employer may say, hey, project A is more important than project C. No problem. So ask questions if you're not sure. There are no dumb questions. Believe me, I've asked a lot of questions. And sometimes I think I shouldn't ask this because it's going to make me look dumb. But no matter what, I would rather know. And that way I can be a little more confident. And also too, it can open up communication between you and your employer. Discuss your concerns. If you feel something is not going right, perhaps you may want to discuss that with your employer. So make sure that your concerns are, worthwhile. And, sometimes before you even go in, you might want to think about to make sure, is this something I could solve on my own? Or, is this like maybe a breach of confidence or something? Ask for more to do if you have time. There's nothing worse for myself. I hate being bored at work. I mean, there are times I like to have a little quiet time where I can just breathe or, go through some old emails. But if I have too much time on my hands, I want to look productive. I want to stay busy. It's just, I know it's easier for me. It gives me a better sense of confidence and also on my mind too. Make sure there is no surprises. Keep your supervisor updated of issues and status. How would you like it if you were employer and 3 people called in to work that day and you have nobody to back you up? Where would you be? So again, try to be considerate and think of the issues. Attitude is contagious. Now, sometimes you always hear, well, there's nothing wrong with my attitude, it's your attitude. It is contagious. And sometimes if it's mind over matter. For example, let's say you compliment your coworkers. I have had coworkers, for example, if I have a male coworker and I think his shirt and tie look nice, I will tell him, I said, hey, I really like your shirt and tie. I think it looks really nice. And I think my coworker knows that I'm saying it in a professional way and that I mean that. So compliment your coworkers. Maybe it's not only clothes, maybe it's a hairstyle, maybe it's the way you handled a difficult customer. You could say, hey, you really handled that customer good. You did a lot better than what I could. So be aware of that. Also, thanking your coworkers when they help you. You never know, just the little things can help the most. Even if it's just, for example, I know sometimes our front desk gets pretty busy at times. And between we have customers coming in, and let's say if I can help somebody in the computer lab with a computer question or clean off a desk or something, just the little things can make the big difference. And try to remember to smile. Now, there's a kind, what is a true smile and what is a fake smile? So try to be as genuine as you can. Even if you think if something's going to be hard, try to stay positive and try to avoid negativity. I know a lot of times I think things are going to be hard and sometimes it's kind of hard to be positive, but if I can try to think of sometimes I try to do baby steps. Okay, this is what I did today. So if I can get through this part, it can help me with the next part. Being negative, and sometimes this could be office gossip. Sometimes it may be so easy trying to get roped into that. But if you can try to stay positive and to avoid negativity and gossip, in the long run, it's going to be better for the whole work environment. Habits to help positively affect your attitude. Now, get plenty of rest. Last night, I went to bed around 9 o'clock or so, and usually I'm more of a 10 o'clock, 10:30 person, but I was just tired last night, so I thought I need to get my rest. So I thought I'm going to get enough rest so I feel good today. Make sure you get fresh air each day for at least 20 minutes. Maybe it's just going outside to walk or just going outside and just taking some fresh air in. Sometimes that will help you. Stay hydrated. Drink recommended amounts of water. I know a lot of times if I want to help my attitude, I want a Mountain Dew. I know that's not always healthy, but a Mountain Dew seems to help me, but I try to drink plenty of water too. And it seems by drinking enough water, for me, it just helps me to think a little bit clearer and makes me feel better. Listen to music that you enjoy, depending where you're at. I like rock and roll music, and sometimes I like it loud, but there's a place and a time to do it. It's not going to be in the office. And I have to be careful of people around me. Some people may not like certain kinds of music. So you have to be aware of that. Think of them as well, too. Leave your personal life at home and leave your job issues at work. How many of you can do that? Some days I can, some days I cannot. And I know this one's very hard to do. Sometimes we have personal, we go through tragedies in our life, and sometimes we're not sure how to do it. And when do you leave it at home? When do you leave things at work? And sometimes it's very hard to do. And so sometimes, even if you're at work and you have some personal issues, sometimes you can still maybe share it with a coworker and say, you know, I'm really dealing hard with this today. And sometimes just having someone to listen to you for a few minutes will help you to focus on your work. Also, do some sort of physical activity each day. I know at home I have a stationary bike. Right now, the seat and the handlebars are getting a little dusty, so I'm going to have to clean those up, and I'm going to have to start pedaling that. But it might just be going outside for a walk. Some people clean their houses. Whatever you do to try stay physically active along and staying and with your brain as well too. Being adaptable. Show your employer you are adaptable by being willing to fill in for coworkers when needed. This one is very important. There's going to be a time when a coworker comes in. A coworker might be off for personal reasons, sickness. And if you can even just step in for a few minutes to help out, your employer is going to appreciate that, because you never know, that could happen to you. Would you want someone to fill in for you? Adjusting to various personality types and being willing to work with people who aren't like you. Have you ever worked with somebody that had a completely different attitude than you? Maybe you didn't see things the same. I think we all have had some people like that. And I know for myself, sometimes that's not always easy to do, but sometimes if you can try to find the common ground, the old saying, you can agree to disagree in an agreeable manner, but try to find common ground with people. What do you have in common? And sometimes when you try to find common ground, you might have more in common with a coworker than what you think. Being willing and open to change. I know I've been at my same job for the past 21 years. I've seen many, many, many changes. I'm not going to get into that, but some days it's easier than others, and some days it's not. So I think the more you can adapt to change, and I'm not saying change is easy. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but I think that's just a part of life. So the more you can be willing to open and change, the better off you'll be. Not only for work, but that can also be in our personal lives too. Viewing challenges as opportunities. I know for myself, when we were told back in March of 2020 that we were going to start working remotely because of COVID, I thought, I wasn't sure how working from home was going to be. The first day or so, I thought, I don't really like it. But I've adjusted myself to, hey, it's not so bad. Computers sometimes, phone systems. These are changes we have to make. And even if I could just do a little bit at a time, I give myself baby steps, and that works for me. Again, being willing to change, even if you think your way is the best way. You know of anyone, it's my way or the highway? For some people, that is their way of life. Others, if it's my way or the highway, there's the door. But again, being willing to listen to the other person, the other person's perception, these will all be helpful to you in the long run. Show integrity and honesty. Do what you know is right. Now, what I think is right, other people may not always agree with me, but doing what you know is right. For example, if I have my cell phone out several hours a day, am I showing integrity and honesty at work? I'm really using up employers' time, and that it really is not. So, you know, now and then, let's say you need to look at your cell phone or something, do it in a reasonable amount of time, or sometimes just excusing yourself if you need to go on break or something. So again, just a lot of it's common sense. Own up to your mistakes and fix them right away. Now, sometimes that's a little bit easier said than done. But I think if you, depending on the mistake, you can say, hey, I messed up. I'm really sorry. How can I fix this? It shows that you are responsible, you're going to be accountable, and you want to do the right thing. Be willing to ask for help. We all need help in our lives, whether at work or in personal. So be willing to ask for help. You can say, hey, I'm struggling with this right now, or I don't think I'm gonna get this done. Can someone help me? Or vice versa. If a coworker needs help, what can I do to help? If you say you're going to do something, do it. It shows that you're accountable, you're dependable, and that people can you're kind of the go-to person. I used to say, oh, I can promise you this, I promise you that. I don't even want to say I promise anymore. I would rather say, I'm going to do the very best I can, and I will try to do it today. If not, sometimes if I talk to people on the phone and say, hey, if you don't hear back from me in a couple of days, just send me an email or call me. That'll just be a friendly reminder, and that won't hurt my feelings. Also, being trustworthy, even when no one is watching. When you think no one is watching, there is someone always watching. So be careful. Self-motivation. Do things before being asked to do them. And again, I know a lot of times in our office, we're working, right now we're working on teams. And so some of our officers working remotely and some of us are working from the office. So a lot of times when we have people coming into the office, we might have to stop what we're doing and say, hey, what can I do to help the customer? Or if somebody is running behind, what can I do to help you? So it's always good to go above and beyond what is asked. And the more you can do, sometimes your employer is going to remember that, and that could be on your evaluation, and that could give you additional, I want to say points. It shows respect as well too. Take initiative to complete projects when others don't. I know many times it's easier to let someone else do it. Have I thought of that? Oh yes. But sometimes, depending on what the project is, depending on my capabilities, sometimes if it's beyond my control, if not in my realm of responsibility. So again, there's a lot of things. So be aware of that. Take initiative, ask. And also come up with solutions for complaints. I know many times it's just easier to complain. I know if you go to your employer and say, hey, I've got a complaint, sometimes we just need to get it off our chest. We just need to share it. And that we're all human to do that. But if you complain all the time, the employer is going to wonder about you, thinking, are you spending more time complaining than working? So make sure that you try to come up with some kind of solutions. Self-confidence. All right, where did you learn self-confidence? Do you read a book, watch a video? I know for myself, at times, having confidence in myself is not always easy. And again, it just kind of depends on myself. It's knowing yourself, what I can do, what I can't do. So be proud of yourself, believe in yourself. For example, when for this virtual program, I thought, oh, it's going to be a workshop. I'll volunteer to do workshops. I don't mind doing workshops. Well, then I learned that we're going to be videotaped, and I thought, oh, Joanne, what did you get yourself into? But at first I was kind of nervous, but now I just think of it, it's just one way to help other people with it, and I don't mind it. Try to be confident in the decisions you make. Let's face it, let's say a time for voting. Let's say you voted for someone. At that time, that's the person you voted for, but maybe 2 years later, you wish you changed it. So sometimes you've got to be confident in the decisions that you make at this very minute in your life. Sometimes we can't always look in the future, but at this time, at this very moment, this is what I feel confident in doing. When feasible, be willing to take risk within defined work rules. And this one, again, sometimes can be a little tricky. So again, be willing to take the risk. Again, if it's something, life or death, be aware of that, but be very careful. And again, observe your work rules. Know what you can or you cannot do. Acknowledge your skills and abilities. I know for myself, my skills and abilities, I like working in an office background. I knew that when I was in high school, and I just like that. So I know that I'm in the right place. Now, some people I know saying, I could never do your job. I don't like working in the office. That's perfectly all right. We all have different skills and abilities. I don't mind getting up in front of a crowd and doing public speaking. I took speech when I was in high school and I loved it. Other people rather be behind the scenes, and that's okay. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. And again, to acknowledge your weaknesses and identify them to improve them. I know sometimes I can be very detail oriented, and sometimes I can spend too much time on that. So I've got to stop and I need to move on. Taking pride in your appearance. It could be clothes, your hair, your hygiene. I have seen many people coming into our office, all kinds of clothes. That's almost another virtual workshop in itself. I've seen people coming in with their pajamas. I've seen people coming in for interviews with torn jeans. I've seen people coming in wearing suits. I have seen people coming in wondering what they had on. There's some things that I don't even want to see. And so sometimes make sure that you are presentable. What kind of an image do you want to show to the employer? Make sure that your hair is clean, also good hygiene as well too. Also have confidence in your body language. For example, if I would start getting my cell phone out, or if I would look over here for the next 5 minutes, what is that going to tell you? Make sure that you are confident, that you're sitting comfortably. If I did this the whole time, this would be distracting. So again, make sure that if you're a person who likes to talk, you might want to keep your hands or your arms on your lap, and also having good posture. Because if you're hunked over like this and you can't see me, or you're leaning back in the chair, if you got your arms crossed, that's going to show the employer that maybe you really don't care. But body language is very important, along with nonverbal communication. Show your employers you are a team member. The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team. Phil Jackson, basketball coach. Having drive and commitment to getting the job done. Just like anything, to have a successful team, whether it's on the basketball court or at the work, everyone needs to work together and to communicate. Make sure that you're treating your coworkers with respect. If you're going to be talking down to your coworkers all the time, how do you think they're going to be talking to you? Do you want them to treat you like that? Make sure that you focus on quality and safety. Along with that, demonstrate integrity in your actions and behaviors, and embracing open communication. Be willing to receive feedback, positive and negative. And I know a lot of times with past employers, if I'm starting a new task or something, a lot of times I like to tell people, hey, if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. I can learn from that. And for me, I think it just puts me, I know I'm kind of opening myself up, but also too, I want that person to feel comfortable talking to me. Also use TAC when providing feedback to others. I've seen some people who come into the office and they have a resume. Instead of saying your resume is terrible, your resume is too long, too gross, whatever, it's best to try to use tact. And most times when I work with a customer, if I look at somebody's resume, I'll say, are you open to suggestions? And somebody say, hey, yes, I am open to suggestions. Or many times people say, I don't know how to use a computer. This is my first time here. And when someone tells me that, it just gives me an awareness to be aware of what they feel comfortable with. Actively listen with a help me understand approach. This is always good to know in trying to be focused, trying to help me understand. Many times, do you ever talk to someone and as you hear that person talking, you're ready to respond with something? I have to be careful with this because a lot of times if I'm talking to someone on the phone, I know what I'm going to say. I have to stop and tell myself, okay, Joanne, just be quiet for a few minutes, let the person talk. That person might just need someone to talk to. So focus on that person, because what if you are in someone else's shoes? Would you want someone to try to understand you? Make sure you address problems right away. If you leave it fester too long, it can be more expensive and it could make it a lot worse. And also make sure that you're aware of nonverbal messages that match your verbal messages at work. For example, if you are, sitting up straight, good eye contact, make sure that that your body language is matching your verbal messages as well. Participate. Actively participating in meetings and trainings. Have you ever attended a meeting where you just wanted to sit back and just relax? Been there, done that. Sometimes if I can even try to participate, even though the information may not look really interesting, but if I can try to look like I'm interested, and sometimes just by asking questions or answering questions, once you get involved, it may not be as bad as you want. Have you ever volunteered to be in a skit or demonstration at work? Sometimes it's just different to kind of share that depending on what the information is. And also too, it's important to provide feedback and giving suggestions. And you can still do this still in a professional manner, or saying, hey, this is something, have you ever thought about that? So giving suggestions is always important. How do all of these things relate to getting and keeping a job? As I mentioned earlier, all of this is going to be important. It's like anything, if you work to get a job, how are you going to keep that job? So you want to work hard to keep that job as well too. So try to put your best foot forward always. Achievement. Let's say, for example, that you might be good at something. What do you value in the workplace? For example, I'll just go over these very briefly. You might be good at, let's say, achievement, retail, food service, graphic design. For example, how are your retail? You're going to have good customer service skills. Do you pride yourself in that? If you do, then take ownership. Independence, such as a machine operator, welder, forklift, accountant, janitorial, chef, housekeeping, brokers, real estate, plumber, or locksmith. I think we all have jobs at work where we need to work independently, but there are times we also have to work with teams too. So what type of a job works for you? Now, do you like a lot of recognition? This could be product promoters, video editors, financial analysts, respiratory therapists, program directors, news reporters, social work. So again, do you want recognition? I believe everyone likes to receive recognition to some degree. Now, other people like more than others, but again, being aware of this. And one thing that I wanted to share with you, that in the packet here, at the very back of the page, at the very end, there is a website that says Indiana Career Ready. This is where you can go to this website and you can learn more about different occupations and different assessments. It's called indianacareerready.com. Relationships. These are important. Customer service reps, counselors, social workers, childcare workers, cashiers, store clerks, servers. Especially if you're working with the public, it's important that you do have a good relationship. And along with that, if you can have that good relationship, you're building good rapport and you're also building goodwill. Support. Construction workers, production, mechanics, administrative assistants, nurses, nurse aides. I know for myself, I like the kind of the support environment. I know in the past, I've worked as an administrative assistant, and also in the past, I worked as a nurse's aide too. So, and I kind of enjoy that type of work. So I know that's where some of my strengths and weaknesses, especially my strengths, will be. Working conditions. Veterinary technicians, dental assistants, computer specialists, jewelers, or marketing. Again, what's important to you? What kind of resources, what kind of working conditions do you like? Our virtual program today came from the sources, the Balanced Careers, Indiana Career Connect, which is also our job matching system, where you can put a resume on and look for work, and also Indiana Career Ready. So at this time, before I hand it over to Lisa, I just want to thank you for visiting with us today. We also offer additional workshops, resume development, cover letters. You can also contact us at northeastindianaworks.org or operations@workonene.org. Thank you. Lisa?
Thank you so much, Joanne, for a great presentation. There's just a lot of great information in that's packed in like you always do. Let's see, I also wanted to mention, since I'm at the library, we always have a lot of great books and resources. You briefly touched on getting the job. Sometimes that's the harder part, and we have a lot of great books and resources and downloadable materials like ebooks and audiobooks on resumes, job finding, cover letters, all kinds of topics like that, and also topics about staying happy in your job, doing your job well, maintaining a good attitude in the workplace, things like that. So just a lot of materials if people want to refresh their attitude or anything like that. I wanted to invite anybody, if you have any questions or anything you want to bring up, this is a great time for that. I don't think we've seen any questions come in yet. So we are repeating this program Tuesday the 12th at 10 a.m. So if you want to register, if you want to watch it again or tell a friend, go on the library's website and register for that. And if you have any other follow-up questions or comments regarding the information that we shared today or any additional resources, please contact us at the word ask at acpl.info on your screen. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you again, Joanne.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.